In this next article from Christopher Rufo, President signs executive order abolishing critical race theory. Thank goodness. President Donald Trump, the king of memes, has issued a full executive order abolishing critical race theory from federal government, the military, and federal contractors. The president has effectively declared war on critical race theory and extended the battleground to our major institutions. Thank God. That critical race theory thing is whack. I used to work as a minority outreach advisor for Portland State University, and we had to deal with this critical race theory and doctrine of diversity, which says that, critical race theory is where it says that white man's bad because they 6% of white people used to own slaves. So the African Americans were somehow like oppressed because they're like somehow like doing less good than they would have been doing in Africa, where the vast majority of people are impoverished. So they're saying the white man is the conqueror, took the land from the American Indians, even though 95% of American Indians died from smallpox. They didn't own a government. They were nomads. You can't take land from a nomad. But they blame the white man. They say it's the white man. It's the racist Republican in them poor rural states holding down the minorities in the big cities. And this is why they have to use that scapegoat, is because the Democrats are in control of almost all the big cities in the U.S. And you can't say that it's the racist white man that's at the top of the pyramid in the big city that's holding down the minorities, because then the minorities in the big city wouldn't vote for those people. No, it has to be the racist Republicans in the poor rural states that are holding down the minorities in the big city Democrat-run shitholes. Because if it was actually the person in their city that was doing it, they would go and rage them and they would take their shit. They would rob them and they would fuck them up. And so it can't actually work that you tell them the truth. The people at the top of the Democrat power structure that are controlling your big city are the ones that are oppressing you and holding you down because they won't hire you. Because then that would fuck everything up. These Democrats rely on the minorities as a key voting bloc in these big cities. Vast majority of Democrats live in big cities. Or sorry, the plurality of Democrats live in big cities. Sorry, I think vast majority is like 75% or more than a plurality, right? So they have to keep up the lie of it's somebody else's fault, it's not me, because there's so many minorities in the big cities that they can't control the big cities unless they propagate a lie that it's a scapegoat that's outside of the city, that it's not them. It can't be the Democrats doing it, because the Democrats are the ones who are trying to help the minorities in the big cities. So then it can't be them. So it has to be the racist Republicans in them poor rural states, which, as you can tell, this is absolutely absurd. I'm definitely not holding down any sort of minorities in those big Democrat-run shitholes. Trust me, I'm not holding down any no, I'm holding down all the minorities in all of the cities, all around the country. It's just me. One-man band, bro. It's me, dude. I'm holding down all the minorities in LA. I'm holding down all the minorities in San Francisco. I'm holding down all the minorities in Chicago. Up in Philly, I be holding down all the minorities. Yup. Oh. Atlanta, baby, you know I'm holding down the minorities there, bro. To begin, the president explains that our nation was founded on the ideal that all men are created equal. Except for back then, they didn't think that black people were humans. and denounces critical race theory's pernicious and false belief that Americans are an irredeemably racist and sexist country. But if you ask them, they will say that I am the imaginary misogynistic, the pig boogeyman from MSNBC and the Southern Poverty Law Center, and that I am irredeemably racist and sexist, even though they've never met me. They will tell you, I saw his YouTube channel. This guy has to be a white supremacist because he doesn't support Black looter mob. Yeah, these people are all up on some fake news, critical race theory, garbage, bullshit. It's because they can't accept the fact that it's their own bad attitudes towards education that made it so they didn't do well in school. It has to be the scapegoat because they have an anger management problem. And if it was actually somebody that they could find, then they would beat them up. So they have to always put it off on the person who is not there because they cannot defend themselves. President writes that the quote-unquote maligned ideology of critical race theory is, quote, now migrating from the fringes of American society and threatens to infect the core of institutions in this country. And, quote, I'm going to push back. I'm pushing back on you. It already has infected the core of institutions in the country. This critical race theory goes all the way up to the top. I personally have been canceled twice. First time for posting Meninist jokes on Facebook. They couldn't tell that it was just a joke. They didn't know that men's rights is just Meninism is a joke. It's like, so I got canceled from that because people started saying I was a misogynist. And then I got canceled again from tech Twitter for calling out one of the heads of the NVIDIA Corporation. They were bragging about how women are making more than men now, and how great this is. Then I tweeted some stuff out to like the effect of, how does feminism help black men? And then I had a bunch of feminists pounce on me. And then this 9 replies guy plastered my text or my tweets all over Twitter. 140,000 people saw them. And then I got canceled from tech Twitter. Fucked up my career. Screws up my ability to get open source contributors, find work. Just in general has made my life a living nightmare. That's why I'm doing this show. And these people, these cancel culture people they're fucked up. And a lot of it comes from Europe. Europe is absolutely guilty with their anti-hate speech laws. They are wretchedly horrible. If they think that you are committing hate speech, they will cancel you. They'll shun you. They'll fuck your entire life up if they think that you don't support radical Islamic terrorism. They're like, you're Islamic phobe. Like, I'm sorry. In what world do you live in where I'm forced to not dislike your religion? In Europe. And then they come to the US and they push this shit. So when you bring in these H-1B visas from Europe, these experts that they're overworking almost to death, they bring with them their bullshit anti-hate speech laws and their cancel culture. And then it starts to mingle in with the American far left fringe weirdos. And then you get this fucking batshit crazy shit, dude, where like everything's far right, everything's Nazi, everything's fascist. And then they start race rioting. They're race rioting in Europe too. I mean, it started over here as race riots over fake news about George Floyd. And then it just morphed into all these other race riots. And then you got the Muslims up in Europe race rioting over somebody burned a Quran. Then you got race riots in Europe from the migrants over there that are like, they're committing all kinds of crimes, and then they're upset that the people want to kick them out, and then they just race riot. And so we just normalize race rioting. This is the world we live in, where it's not okay to be against riots, but it's perfectly okay to just be race rioting all around the world during a period of time when these people are treated better than they've ever been treated in the history of the world. They're living in the lap of luxury like kings, and then they're out saying, no, I'm so oppressed. The white man's holding me down. Cause I ain't rich like the white man, because I didn't try hard in school. I had a bad attitude to the teacher, and I got suspended. I kept talking back so they wouldn't hire my ass. Really? Really? Maybe you should learn to shut the fuck up. He cites my original reporting on the Treasury Department's Argonne National Lab and Sandia Labs. Point of federal contractors is major escalation. If a private company wants to work with the U.S. government, they can no longer teach critical race theory anywhere in their offices. Yes, Donald Trump is the man. Yes. This could permanently disrupt CRT training programs. Like, these people are batshit crazy up in these workplaces, dude. Like, they'll hire people with African American studies degrees to come in and teach the white people about how bad they are and about how much white privilege they got, and they need to give up all the white privilege. And then what they end up doing is the people, they get these diversity advisors. And so their job, okay, they got an African American or a woman studies degree, and they're not qualified to do anything in the workplace except for fire the white dudes to replace them with minorities and women. I know, because I used to be a minority outreach advisor for Portland State University. I'm a software and computer engineer, and my job was to recruit minorities to replace the white males. And my boss was a Latina, and she said the black kids don't have a good enough GPAs to be in the program. So we weren't looking for the black kids. We were only looking for the Latinos, the Asians, and the women. And I didn't think anything about it at first. Maybe about 9 months ago, looking back, I'm like, man, that's fucked up. We could see the GPAs of the African Americans and the Latinos and the white people and the black people. You can see down at the bottom is the African Americans, the Latinos above that, white people above that, and then Asians at the top. And then this. So now we can see the chart. It's kind of hard for me to pull over. Here's the incomes of the blacks, Hispanics, whites, and Asians. Here, let me get over here. And you can see that they mirror the GPAs of the races. And we can see the demographics of who they voted for in 2016. You see, 91% of black people voted Democrats, 66% of Hispanics. And so this is why the black people are saying, if you don't support BLM and you're black, you're skin folk and not kinfolk. I think that's the most messed up thing. Like, that's pretty messed up, dude. So this is what my boss at the Portland State University, this is what she meant when the black kids' grades weren't good enough is that they weren't good enough to get into the engineering school, and they had to recruit the Latinos. And you look at this, the cutoff to get into the engineering school is 3.0 GPA. So most of the Latinos are also too well under this 3.0 mark. But if we didn't recruit them, they would have said that we're racist. So we had to recruit the Latinos. This is why I'm so critical of it, because once you start to understand the demographics of what is going on here, you can see that these Democrats are fucking whack. Like, this shit's so whack, dude. Seriously, like, they made a racist power structure that goes all the way up the top of the ivory tower. Like, you got down at the bottom, you got your poor whites. Then above them are the hood Democrats, your low income, big city liberals. And they're above the poor whites because they get diversity tickets, right? So this means that the college educated poor whites, they can go down to they'll be in the poor whites, but they might go up to white feminist, which is above hood Democrats. But this isn't true for the non-college educated black people. They're stuck at hood Democrat hierarchy. This is the fucked up part about this Democrat racial hierarchy, is that basically they just flipped it where the poor whites are at the bottom and then the white women are up at the top. It's just whack as fuck. Everything about this is whack. I think that this is legit. I personally think that this is spot on. If you think that this is completely batshit crazy and I'm an idiot, you should comment down below. Tell me how stupid I am and why you are right. Does this power structure exist? Does it not exist? So let's see. That's the critical race theory. I think we've kind of shown this. Let's see in the workplaces what they do. So they got the people with the African American studies, that the only thing that they're qualified to do is fire the white dudes and replace them with minorities and women. And so they got these guys going around teaching these classes about how privileged white males are, about how I need to check my white privilege, that I am a privileged white male, and that my privilege needs to be attacked because I don't deserve any of the things that I've worked for or earned, or I don't deserve the social status that I worked my entire life for, that was given to me because of my skin color. And everything about this is whack. Everything about this Democrat social hierarchy is whack. Most of their beliefs are based on lies. I'm going to let you read the rest of that article. Here's the Trump's executive order. You can find the link at rsscommentary.com/Kayla McCullough /issue 107 for this show.